Welcome to the Everything Food Podcast, where we serve up the good, the bad, and the ugly of all things food. I'm your host, personal chef Anthony Jordan. Today, we're joined by Chef Antonee Pryce, culinary innovator, flavor rebel, and one of the most dynamic women shaping the food scene. But today isn't about her dishes, it's about the problems she sees in our food culture, the barriers she's breaking, and the solutions she's cooking up. So, we're asking, what problems does a chef like Antonee Pryce fix? What challenges still stand in the way? How you doing today, chef?
I'm doing well. Thank you, sir, for including me on this podcast. This is my first podcast. So shout out to Chef Anthony for thinking of me. I appreciate you for recognizing the sister trying to do a thing.
Hey, no problem. You already know. We go way back. And you took off, ran to Atlanta, became famous. I gotta get down there because I need to taste it for
Yes,
myself
yes. It's
and
long
see what's
overdue.
going on.
Long overdue.
Yes,
Got a lot of people that love to have you meet down here. Definitely.
I I would love to meet them. Just hang
Hmm.
out. The atmosphere because when I met you, the vibes always been good, and
Hmm.
we kicked it off. So
Yeah.
just give the audience a little bit about. I know you, but they want to know.
Well, so I am a New York native, born and raised. My mother then moved us to the Midwest. So I did high school and college in Cincinnati, Ohio, where we met. Had my son. After I had my son, I decided, hey, I need a different career. I actually came from corporate. So my background is in healthcare. I worked for Anthem Blue
Right,
Cross and Blue Shield for about 5 years plus. I kind of tapered off and started working and doing K plans because I just needed a break and needed something new. And then kind of wound up going back into healthcare, doing like home care and things like that. So that's the short and sweet of it. But I didn't feel quite as fulfilled anymore. And I found myself throwing like a lot of gatherings at my house and hostings and things like that and just loving to cook. So both my grandmothers on both sides were scratch bakers. So I think I get it real honest, but it just kind of developed a little later on in life for me. But just having that sense of community and being around people and just having good food, and it just brings a different atmosphere, to people. You're not really thinking about your problems because your palate is exploding with all these different flavors, and you may have some good wine or something to go with it and just good company. So it just kind of takes you out of the everyday monotony of life and allows you to escape in a place that, you can enjoy and just have a party in your mouth almost, if I could say
right.
that.
Cooking is an escape. It is an
Yeah,
escape.
it truly
That's
is.
a magic word.
It is.
But let me ask you a question, and this is we doing the good, the bad, and the ugly, and this is the
Hmm.
good question.
Hmm.
Why does Chef Price believe bold, creative cooking empowers people to explore new flavors?
I think because it allows you to explore more than just what the norm is, what your culture is. It forces you to look outside the box. I've cooked a lot of different cuisines, and that's something that you learn in culinary school. You don't just learn to cook American culture, you learn to cook Chinese culture and Indian culture. So when you get out into the world and you get out into the kitchens, you're also being placed around people of those dynamics and demographics.
Right,
So you're
right.
kind of
Different
immersed.
cultures.
Yes. So you're immersed into someone else's culture. So therefore, it kind of forces you to figure out, how do we fuse these things? And that's where that fusion comes in, where you see, Mexican and Asian fused together, or
Right,
Caribbean and Hispanic,
right,
fused together, because you got two minds that are sitting there thinking, how would these two dishes taste together? And having different profiles that match on a whole nother level. So I think it just
right.
opens up a door for just more than creativity, but like I said, community, and just really pushing the envelope on making food even more great than what it is, in its simplest form. So,
It was kind of like Jean Roubert had a restaurant in Covington, and it was like French Vietnamese, and I'm like,
mhm.
how So it
Right.
worked.
And when I was
It
in New
worked.
York, there was a spot that my aunt used to take me to. I believe it was either in Brooklyn or Manhattan, but it was called Bayamos, and it was an Asian and a Mexican fusion cuisine, and it was like I'll never forget that place. I was so mad when they closed, but it was many, many, many moons ago. But that was my first introduction to fusion food like that, unbeknownst to me, going in, heading down this road in culinary. So, living in New York exposed me to a lot of things culturally that when I came to Cincinnati, it just kind of developed even more and even opened up even
Right.
more going to culinary school.
Okay. Coming from New York to Cincinnati, which of course New York is a little bit faster, more people,
Hmm.
a little bit more diverse. Was
Hmm.
you able to, when you got to Cincinnati, was they able to kind of focus and hone in on what you wanted to do?
Well, I didn't really. The time I picked back up with culinary was I left and came here to Atlanta to go to culinary school. So when I
Okay.
came back to Cincinnati, I was in the end stages of schooling. I was doing my internships. So I got my first job at Alfio's in Hyde Park. He hired me. It was
Right.
a humbling experience, but shout out to Alfio's, still serving great food. But that's when I began to run the gamut and learn what kitchen life was like. So therein was the developmental stages of being, broken, as they say, having to do the grunt work, having to do all the
Right.
things you don't like, getting past all the nerves and, getting yelled at for real, by the chef and all that kind of stuff, getting
Yeah.
those
You
looks
was
like,
paying your dues.
right, right, right. Paying my dues. Still feel like I'm paying my dues, but was paying my dues for real because it was tight. It was tough.
Yeah. Hey, we I've been there and I could be there at any time because it's almost like in the culinary industry, if you being humble and you really trying to learn, that happens every time you move and you go to a different location. If you go
Right.
to a different restaurant,
Mhm.
you might be the chef, but believe it or not, you're asking those employees like, where's this? Where's that? How you do this? I've been in the industry for a long time. I feel like
Mhm.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, we're always learning. Food is
Yeah.
evolving always, so it's
Hmm.
always room to learn. It's probably plenty of things out here that we have not even touched or scratched the surface of in the culinary, aspect that would I've honestly believe requires like a lot of travel to get those
Hmm.
experiences and to see what else is out there. So definitely agree with that.
Sounds good. Okay, the
Mhm.
bad. Why do you think so many aspiring female chefs lack the access to mentorship or leadership opportunities?
I mean, it's just right there in the question. We're female, and it's a very heavy male dominated, very egotistical atmosphere. You have a lot of men that are in competition with the women, and for good reason, here and there. But I don't feel like competition is not a healthy thing. I think it's unhealthy when it becomes a toxic situation, when you're looking to enable people, when you're looking to gatekeep, when you're looking to, kind of box people in so that they
Hmm.
cannot grow. When you see that they have the potential, and it's like, oh, I can't let this person excel me. But what people fail to realize is that when you do that, it dims your light because
Boom!
you're not showing that you're growing and you're growing people. And that's how, to me, you grow and excel in this
Right.
industry. That's how you really build a
Because
name of it.
if you don't grow the crew, you don't grow the company. You don't grow the
Exactly.
cause.
Right. And there's no I in team. Everybody relies on everybody. And I've come to this point in my career where I've had to wear several different hats, and it becomes a fine line of, so do I keep pushing myself and doing all of these things to be recognized, to be valued, to be given what I'm due monetarily? Or does it set me up to say, well, they can still function like this, so why should we do any more? So it's like a catch 22 to me for certain situations. Now, some women, they just run right through like a Tomb Raider, and they don't care and they set their standards and, this is what it's going to be. I have a lot of female friend chefs that are like that. Like it's very cut and dry. You want me to do this work, and this is the expectation I have of you from a company to pour into me. And it's just that,
Yep. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
just learning how to navigate through that, I think, is the biggest challenge for Black women and Black women chefs. It's always the saying that Black women have always been the backbone of a lot of things. And I do believe that we still are, so.
That goes without question. I mean, Mother Earth to me.
Mhm. Mhm.
The ugly question I'm going to ask you:
Mhm.
why does the restaurant industry still battle burnout and what you was talking about, toxic kitchens and gender bias?
Well, we'll start with the burnout. I think the burnout comes from lack of support. Like I said, we've grown accustomed to making sure we wear several different hats to prove a point, which turns around and kind of bites us because then it becomes the expectation. And then you look at labor cost. A lot of people ask me about, why you did this and so on and so forth. I feel like COVID did a number on the culinary industry, and it was kind of
Hmm.
already on its way down because
Hmm.
the thrill of everything and all the shows and stuff were out there and it had already hit its peak. But what I tell people in conversation is that there were a lot of people that were already hit at the burnout stage. So
Hmm.
COVID was just an open invitation to sit down. So the few of us that were still in it, that still had something to prove, that still had, goals to reach,
Right.
we got stuck, with the short end of the stick.
Yeah.
So therein
COVID was
lies,
almost like a reset, kind
yeah,
of.
yeah,
But let's step back and almost like an audit. Let's step back,
right,
look at everything, and reevaluate.
right,
Because even here. I'm every day. I'm reading. All of a sudden, some big restaurant just closed. All of a
mm-hmm,
sudden, there was no warning. There was no
mm-hmm,
indication. People went
right,
to work one day and the doors was locked. And it was major news because it hit
mm-hmm,
the. I'm reading it online,
yeah,
Cincinnati.com or something.
right,
WK the news.
mm-hmm,
Period.
mm-hmm,
So it was.
and
I see it.
mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I think there's also a lack of morale. People are tired of, I don't think people really that don't cook understand how much it takes, how much energy it takes, how much sacrifice, how much
Oof.
time it really takes to get in and plan menus, source foods, cost foods out. All of that stuff is very time consuming. That's time we don't get back out of our life. And
Right.
when you put your heart and soul into a dish and you don't get the end result, or, you're looking up and you're just like, where is this going? Why am I not getting any results? Because you push good product. It can become very discouraging. And then you have
Hmm.
resentment. And then, of course, you have those that are given positions and given things that they're not even qualified for. So I don't even
Preach.
want to touch too deep into that, but
Yeah.
and it builds up
Yeah.
resentment. So, you get poor quality, you get poor customer service, you get poor turnout, people don't show up, people quit. And so that's why I think the turnover rate is so high. That's why I think we have a lot of people that are functioning on some form of something,
Autopilot.
yes, to get through the day, And then when
Hmm.
you've done this for so long, how do you segue out of it? Where do you go?
Hmm.
You know?
That's a new segment. I just
You
assumed
can call me that one because I got a story for you about that.
that's a new segment because I just assumed I'd be crawling in somebody's kitchen. I have a knife in one hand and a
Yeah.
and a cane in the other one,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something to that effect. I'll
Mhm.
probably have my hand in it, physically, and might not be able to work, but somehow we
Right.
working on it.
Right, right.
Working on it.
But it is, it's very taxing, a lot of hours spent on your feet, a lot of hours, and after a while picking up 50-pound bags of flour, it ain't fun no more, It's just like
Mm-mm.
you gotta get yourself ready just to do that task,
Yeah,
and
and
it hits different, and sometimes I feel
mhm,
like that too, the physical burnout can also
yeah.
be, attributed to people not really wanting to give 110%.
Because it's you're on your way to work and it's 95 outside and it's
Mhm.
105 and 107 in the kitchen.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
and you just clocked in and you got a 10-hour shift.
Right.
So
Right. So
it's ugly.
yeah, and I think with gender bias that, a lot of women, especially for me, not only are we looked down upon as, not having the skill set, but we're just targeted for microaggressions. We're targeted for a lot of harassment in the workplace because we're female. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
she's a girl, we're looked at as expendable. you know we can go get another pastry chef, we can go get another line cook, we don't need her. So we're looked at as very replaceable, not really high value all the time. So
Hmm.
that would be, my thoughts and my feelings and my experience based on that.
Right.
Mhm.
So I mean, you just going right down the list. I don't know if you read my list today or when I was pulling everything up, but
Mhm.
goes into my next question and it's
Mhm.
called the fix. Why investing in young culinary talent, especially girls and women,
Mhm.
create that generational change that you're talking about?
So where I work now, it's a restaurant called Cafe Momentum Atlanta. We work with justice involved youth to provide them an opportunity to have a second chance at life. And we do
Mm.
it through teaching them how to cook good food. Now, it's not
Hmm.
to say that everybody that comes in there is like, I want to be a chef. I want to be a waitress, or I want to be a hostess, or I want to be a general manager. But it gives them the space and opportunity to see if it would be something that they would like to do. And it also teaches them how to communicate effectively. how to handle conflict, between each other, how to deal with customers that might be disgruntled or unhappy, how to diffuse situations, with class, with style, with confidence. So I think that that to me is where I take my talent and my gift and want to reinvest it in the youth that I work with. So we've had, this will be the first full year that we've had a group of kids, and we've actually graduated one out, and he came from Louisiana. I mean, from
Hmm.
not so great part of Louisiana, didn't know
Nolans.
anything. He is 18. So he came from Louisiana and didn't have any, aspirations to be a chef. But due to his circumstances and wanting to not have to live the way he was living, he found us. So he took advantage of the opportunity and he worked as a server. He worked as, front of the house greeter, and then moved and transitioned his
Mm.
way back to the back of the house and learned how to work the grill. Worked on the cold side. So, we got him in a good rotation and he got his feet wet and he really got confident with it. And now we, got him moved over to Marcus Barn Grill and he's working there full time. So I think when you take a step back and look at how you were handled and you see these kids that aspire to be more and have the desire, you think about, how did I feel when someone was teaching me?
Hmm.
And then you put that with the experience that they've had. So you know that it's not going to work if you do them the way you were, grandfathered
Right.
in, I should say, or, ushered into this. So
Right.
I used it as an opportunity to teach the way I would have wanted to be taught, to give patience,
Mm.
to give understanding. Whereas I was just told, just do. Why are you asking me how it's done? Like for me, I have to understand the processes that go through certain things.
Hmm.
It has to make sense for me to do it, or I don't really grasp the concept. So that's
Right.
kind of how I handled my kids. I really explained to them in detail the when, the why, the how, the chemistry, why this in this aspect of baking, you can't do this versus what you could do over there on the line, and how
Right.
dramatically different the results will be, and they just become enthralled and fascinated. And, I've gotten them to a point where it was, what is this? And what am I eating to? Okay, I'll try it, because they have
Right.
never tried anything they didn't like. And they're 9 times out of 10 surprised that it tastes really good. So it keeps them
Right.
engaged. I let them, we don't really go through all the motions of, I would say, like, I have to train them backwards. So I will do maybe teaching them some scaling, or I will go ahead and make the entire dessert or the dish and show them how it's plated. And then they'll do the plating for me. So you have to know all the components and what is this. And we work on
Hmm.
pronunciation of things so that we're going outside and we're explaining what these dishes are to everyone. And I make them taste everything, because you got to be able to go out there and tell them what it tastes like.
Hmm.
Because they're going to ask you, what's your favorite thing? What do you like out of these? So being able to describe dishes, is something that I enforce and try to get them in the habit of doing, all within the fun and the scheme of things, in the back of the house with me. So
You sound like you got it. You got it, and you got it down pat. Cause I be in there upset. Cause in my mind, I've been in it so long. It's
hmm
like, hey, let me show you this a couple times, and I'm on something else, and that's how my mind works. And I'm assuming that you got it, and
right,
I taught you the best way I could,
right,
and I
right,
have to have patience with that, because
right,
I'm just, with me, it's just, it's like it's almost automatic.
right,
And
right.
I gotta remember sometime that I'm teaching somebody who probably this their first time in the kitchen,
hmm
first time
hmm
catering, something to
hmm
that effect.
right.
If you could fix one thing in the food world, what would it be? If you could just take one thing out of the food world and fix it, and it would just spread throughout the culinary industry and help, what would it be?
The titles in the hierarchy, I would, because I think people get titles and they look back at the hierarchy, and then you get to a certain point and you feel like you don't have to do anymore.
Okay.
And I don't think that that cultivates a mindset of teamwork. It begins to separate. It's
Okay.
I'm, the exec chef now, so I've done my due. I don't have to do. But for
Right.
me, I don't ever want to give that perception that I'm beneath doing dishes, that I'm beneath getting on the line and having to do some saute if somebody, calls out and is not there. You got
Taking
to
out
be
the
able to be
trash,
flexible. You mopping the floors,
picking up
wiping
a
the walls.
spill.
everybody gets in, and all hands in
Talking to
for.
people with respect.
Absolutely. Deep cleaning, even putting up
Hmm.
when the produce comes in and when the trucks hit. It's a team effort. It's not just for what they consider lower level employees, I'm a
Hmm.
manager as well. It doesn't mean that I have to do all of the cooking, all of the cleaning, all of it should be a collective effort. And I think if we can get away from titles and hierarchies and build more of a community space where we're a team, everybody's got to put in together to help get this train going. Because if one part breaks down, it affects the rest of the machine.
Yeah,
So
it
we
all
all
breaks
got to
down.
learn how to jump in, yeah, and help
Yeah.
when somebody's weak or somebody needs a little, pick me up. So for
Yeah.
me, it would be the hierarchies and the titles because I could care less
Yeah.
about a title.
You got a Mercedes Benz and they take the battery out, it's done.
Right. Alexis
It's
is
done. It
nothing
don't
but
matter.
but Alexis is nothing but a souped up Toyota. If you look at it,
Thank you.
that's
And
all
a,
it
and a,
is.
and a, right, and the Benz is a souped up Lexus.
Yep. With a
You
with a
know,
title, with a nice title.
there it is. There it
So
is.
so
Hey,
yeah,
Chef,
that would be it for
you've been
me.
very informative.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
informative. You cook today? I'm on
Absolutely
the
not.
way. I'm catching the
Absolutely not.
next plane to
No, no,
Atlanta.
no, no. I am on
When you
vacation.
get home? Right. You on vacation?
I have a freezer full of food that will definitely be get heated up. There will be no cooking in this kitchen.
I understand.
Yes.
All right, Chef. I appreciate you. I gotta get to Atlanta, check out
Yes,
everything that you're
please.
doing.
Please.
Proud of you always,
Thank
even though I don't
you.
say it or I might not tag you, I'm
I
looking,
know.
I'm
You're
saying it
all
in my
good.
head.
Yeah,
And
you all good. I know the love is there,
you
and I'm
you
appreciate
already
you,
know.
like I said, for including me on this. This means a
No
lot to me.
problem.
I feel like a lot of doors are starting to open up, and a lot of I'm starting to be seen more than what I
Mhm.
realized I was. And it's a good
Yeah.
feeling, especially to be appreciated by another chef and also another black man, because us sisters out here, we struggling, but
Mhm.
we appreciate the love
Yeah.
and the support, and it means a whole lot to us. So thank you so much.
Always. Much love, Chef.
All
That's a
right.
wrap on today's episode with Chef Antonee Pryce, chef, mentor, and culinary trailblazer. She's shown us that food isn't just flavor, it's culture, community, and conversation. Stay curious, stay hungry, and keep questioning everything food. Thanks, Chef.
Good night, y'all. Have a good one. Happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays to you.